We'll pretend we've got technology tonight. Hi, welcome. Math. Everybody loves math night. Yeah, I see heads shaking. Oh, we just can't wait to get into math. Math is something we're going to use a picture to put the formula together. And then we're just going to put things in the picture. In fact, I have my fashion statement tonight.
White tie.
I have my tie with our math formula on it.
What's that? Check you out. You check. What is that, a checking top?
You look at it as a T. In fact, we'll bring it up. Let's jump right here. You got your check, your commission check. Isn't that what you're interested in? The rest of the math doesn't matter as long as this top one's right.
Everybody's right on that one.
Well, we got to figure out how to get that top one right. And to do that, we're going to have to do something with the bottom numbers. This number is the results of something happening. This is our base number. That's the price of the house normally. And then over here is the percentage. That's your commission or some other percentage we'll be working with. It always goes right there. So whenever you see a percentage number, just know that in your T, it's going to go right here. It's never ever going to have a percentage up here. So it's always going to be right here, right bottom. These numbers multiply across to get this number. To get this number, you're going to divide. See the little divide dots right there? So you're going to divide the house price into this number to get this. Or you'll divide this by this to get this. Uh-oh, I see heads going, huh? Well, that was just perfect there because here's the next slide. Based on the head tilts, I think I need to explain this a little differently. So how about instead of checks and houses, we go with something we already know. Pizza. Everybody's seen a pizza. Seen it sliced up into 8 slices. We've seen that. One slice, that's our results. This is our whole pie, our base number, price of the house. Over here is our percentage. The percentage commission, or points, or whatever else we're going to be dealing with as a decimal, right over there. One slice, 8 slices. To get this number, we're going to put this one in the calculator first. We're going to put 1, hit the divide button, and put in 8. And when you hit the equal sign, it's going to give you a 0.125. It's 12.5%. Always works the same way. No matter what kind of problem we're working with, it's going to work just like this. They're going to say, you've got a pie, or you got a house, and you've got a commission rate of 12.5%. Multiply those across, and you get your check. You want to know how big the check is? You multiply the price of the house times the commission rate. So whatever you're after, we've only got 3 parts. They're going to give you 2 parts. Every question you're going to get 2 parts of it. Now they might not give you a softball and say, oh, here are your 2 parts. But they're going to be there. You may have to work with something in here to come up with what this number is. But you'll get this number and you'll get one other. Sometimes you'll have to do something up here and something down in one of these. But they're going to give you the 2 parts that you've got to have. Alright, here it is. We know we got 1 slice of pizza. And it was 12.5% of the pizza. How many pieces were in the pizza? Y'all see how this works? We put 1 divided by 0.125. You need to always remember to move your decimal because sometimes you'll get a percentage like it'll say 6%. Well, you got to move that decimal over 2 to make it a point number. This is it. You can, most of the calculators you can do it this way, but you just need to start thinking in decimals. Alright, so we're looking for this one. The question will be, how many slices did this pizza have? You got 1 slice, that was 12.5% of the pizza. So how many slices were in the pizza? 8. You missed the first part. Very good. Alright, let's move to another. Right over here. Calculator. Enter the top number first, divide button, and then press the equal key and you'll get this one. We know this one. We know this one. We're looking for this one. Alright, let's change it up a little bit and let's look at how many slices do you get if you've got a pizza with 8 pieces and you get 12.5% of it?
You get 1.
You get 1 slice. Let's look at one more. What you think we're going to be looking for this time?
Percentage.
Percentage. Boy, you're getting ahead. Don't read ahead now. There it is. We're looking for the percentage this time. We got 1 slice. There were 8 slices in the pizza. How many, or what percentage of the pizza was that? 12.5%. Yeah, 0.125. Y'all, see, I told y'all this. We can go on home. We finished math. That's all. If you can get, if you can get this around in your head, you'll get half of your math questions just by knowing how the T works. Half your math questions, and that's about 10% of your test is math. So if you can get half of them, just what we've done in the last 4 or 5 minutes, wow, we're there. But you think it's going to be that easy?
No.
No.
It's a trick.
That's a trick question. All right, so we got 1 slice, 0.125. How many slices? That's 8. There it is again. All right, that's really, seriously, that's the hardest part of real estate, is getting that formula into your head. And it's not a formula. Because I remember when I learned math, it was V divided by Z equals something over here, and you got to remember if I move this over here, then that's a V times a Z, and it equals this. No, I can't remember that. Remember this. Remember the picture of the house, the commission check, and the percentage of the commission. Keep that straight in your head, and you got your math. So we got to move on now and figure out some of these things. How do we figure our commission? There's some fees, compensation. How do we determine market value? We can determine market value based on what's called a capitalization rate. We're going to get deeper into that, but it's the same thing we just looked at. We're going to have a rate, and you're going to have a number, and you can figure what the price is based on those 2 things. Taxes. How do you figure taxes? Tara, who's not here tonight, she said mill. You need to know mill. Well, we're going to talk about mill. That's how you figure taxes. That's 1/1000th of a value. Points, real easy to do with this T formula. How many points do you have to pay to get a loan if you got to pay 2% or 2 points? Well, 2 points is 2%. So we were there. Loan to value ratios. Y'all heard of conventional loans, FHA loans, VA loans? Well, the different loans have different loan to value. Well, that just means value. How much will they loan you on it? Well, if it's 100% VA loan, they're going to loan you 100% of it. But to get that, you may have to pass some points. For sure, you're going to have a VA funding fee, which is a %. So we'll show how to do all that. Measurements. That's really pretty easy. We all know how to measure something. This room is 12 feet by 12 feet. How many square feet are in here?
140.
See how easy this is? Lots, same, works the same way. Property management, we're going to look at investments. How do you figure what a property's worth based on its cash flow? Still the same T we're going to be working with on all these different things. So just base, result, rate. Square footage. We just did this room, just boom. We didn't even have to think about it. Well, when you get a number in real estate, they're going to give you two numbers. The first number you always get is the front foot. That's the street side. So that's the one you're going to get first. Or the front of the house. It's 60 by 40. Well, it's 60 feet wide, 40 feet deep. A lot. This lot we're looking at is 60 feet across, 30 feet deep. How many square feet are in there? 1,800 square feet. Nice size house. Here's the thing about houses. Even though it says that, there may be a garage over here that's cut out, maybe 400 square feet of garage. That's not counted as a living area. We're going to touch on some of those things. All right, so here's our lot. Now, the square footage lot, square footage. No, that's a home. That'd be a small lot, 60 by 30 feet. Couldn't put a 1,900 square foot house on it. One of the questions that's on some of the tests is volume. Because sometimes we have to deal with industrial properties. Like you've been in Home Depot, they don't have this size ceiling in there. Their ceiling's 20 feet tall. Well, the landlord wants to get paid for all that space, not just 10 feet or 8 feet. He built the whole building tall so they could stack stuff up. So they're going to figure volume. So we got one more thing we deal with. It's front foot times depth times height. So we just add one more in there. We multiply it by, say the ceiling's 10 feet tall. It would be 18,000 cubic feet, not square, cubic. That gonna mess me up again. I can't remember bilateral or unilateral, and I can't remember square feet and cubic feet. Don't keep me straight. Lots the same way. We got a 600 foot across the front. It's 300 feet deep. You're going to get a lot of land measurements because people are going to ask you, how big do you think that is? Well, it's about 100 feet across that way and 100 feet that way. About. Don't get real exact. And don't depend on pins either. You see a survey pin, say, there's your property line right there. But sure as you do, some kid has been there the night before and pulled it up and moved it over about 4 feet and nailed it back down. You say it's about. It's about right there. Another thing you can say about on property lines is the utilities, where they have a utility pole and lines are coming to the houses. Usually that utility pole's just about on the property line. But it works the same way, square footage. 600 feet across, 300 feet deep. So how many square feet is that? 180,000. Well, we're going to learn after a while how to remember how many square feet are in an acre. Go ahead and give you the number, 43,560 square feet in an acre. If we can't, now I'm taking it. It's a hard number to remember. There's just no sense to that number. No, you're shaking your head, no sense to it. But you know, you can stop at the 7-Eleven store on your way to the test and ask the clerk at the 7-Eleven store, how many square feet are in an acre? You say 7 is 4 plus 3 11 is 5 plus 6.
Good job.
So you got 43, 560. 7-Eleven store. They can tell you how many square feet are in an acre. You got to remember that number because I said earlier we're going to get 3 numbers to work with. Well, sometimes you're going to have to know some underpinning numbers like how many square feet are in an acre. Like here, the problem may be acreage in this area sells for $30,000 per acre. How much is your land worth? It's 600 by 300. So you're going to have to take those two, work with them, come up with a number like this, then divide it by the guy at the 7-Eleven store, 43,560. And now you've got your acreage. Oh, I had that on there. Yeah, there it is. 4.13 acres. And it's selling for about $30,000 an acre. That piece of property is worth about how much? About $120,000. Just that easy. There's nothing hard about real estate. I passed the test. And I went to Birmingham Public School.
You don't even know the difference between unilateral and bilateral.
I'm telling you how easy this stuff is. You just got to have something like this to hang it on to. And if you can hang it on there, you can work through these problems. Points. A point is 1%. 1.1%. You'll see it associated with a couple of different things. Normally it's going to be the loan amount. Your origination fee on a loan is usually their base rate is 1%. So you got a $100,000 loan and it's got 2 points on it. How many points? $2,000. So how quick y'all catch on this stuff? It's really not rocket science. It's simple math. Most of it is really simple. You just work right through it. There it is. All right, and this is how we would set it up in our formula. 2%. Now don't confuse 0.2 as 2%. 0.2 would be how much? 20%. So this is 2%. That's our number that would go in our rate little segment here. Our loan is $100,000. That's our base. So how much do we have to pay in points? We're going to multiply that across. 2,000. We can figure it the other way. If we know we paid 2,000 in points, and it was, 2,000 points, and it was 2 points, we can divide 2,000 by 0.02. And what do you think he'd give us?
300,000.
300,000. We can go the other way. We know we got 2,000 in points, and it was a $100,000 loan. We're going to put 2,000 in the calculator, hit the divide button, and put in 100,000. Hit the equal button, and it's going to give us probably that number right there. What do you think? Yeah, I think so too. There it is. All right, here's your one to think about. They gave you the amount of points. You paid $3,210 in points. And that was 1.5 points that you paid. How much was the loan?
$214,000.
I heard it.
My apologies.
214,000. See how easy this is? Easy, easy, easy stuff. Compensations, commission. What's the commission if you're getting paid 6% on a $100,000 sale?
6,000.
6,000, that we didn't even think about. But if we set that up in our formula, let's look at it. There it is, got paid 6,000 for Well, yeah, you got paid 6,000, there was 100,000 sale. What was the commission rate? 6%, because we put 6,000 in the calculator, hit the divide button, put in 100,000, hit the equal button, and it gave us 0.06. There it is. What's the sales price on this house? It was, you got a $10,000 commission, and it was a 10% commission.
100,000.
100,000. He didn't even have to use his calculator. It's getting that easy now. Let's send you on down there and take the test while it's fresh on your mind. Let's get it over with. See how it works?
You just counted zeros on that.
There it is.
That's always bad at counting zeros.
$100,000.
You got two numbers with zeros, all you gotta do is count the zeros.
Well,
Especially if they ones.
yeah. Well, and at this level I use base 10 because it's easy to see.
Mhm.
But we're going to get into some odd numbers in just a few minutes. But you got to learn the underpinning, the base on how this fits together. What do you suppose the commission is there?
$10,000.
$10,000. All right, there you go. Your commission was $18,563, and you got paid 3.7%. What was the sale price of this property?
$501,702.
Got two big old things, that's right. Everybody else like that number? Let's see what it is here. Well, I just set it up. There it is. Y'all want to do so good on math? All right, here's another one. Start. Where do we put these numbers? We got, what is the commission? So which one are we looking for?
The commission on
The
top.
top one. All right, so that's where our question mark's going. Sales price of $765. Where does that go?
Or the house.
Right here. And commission rate 2%. We're going to write it 0.02. So this one is just a straight across multiply.
15,308. 64 cents. They better hand my 64 cents.
Alright, there's how we set it up. And there it is.
And
And it's on there, 64
I need
cents.
my 64 cents.
That's because your broker wants his cut of it.
Right.
He wants to make sure that 64 is on the check.
times 30%.
Alright, there it is, all put together. 501,702. Alright, where's this go?
Commission is going to go on the right.
On the top. That's our result. That's the check. That's the commission. Go on top.
Right.
The rate's 8%. So how are we going to write that? 0.08. Right there. So we can't just multiply now. What do we got to do? We got to divide the 8,000 divide by 0.08. 100,000 sounds good to me. Didn't even get your calculator out. There it is. Most of the stuff, once you see it, it clicks. You say, oh, I see how this works. Now here's one that is going to throw you. We've got the easy stuff now. Let's add a little wrinkle to the problem.
What is the selling price?
All right, let's start with what we know. Seller wants to net $100,000. So what does that sound like?
110,000.
Sounds like is that going to be our base or our results? Results, yes, that's results. Said to add your commission to the price, and the commission's 10%. I heard 110,000 here. How many others believe that's the right answer?
Could be wrong.
Fran shaking her head, no. Cedric likes it. Nate, which day? 110?
You'd have to
No,
minus the
listen.
10%, right?
Now you're on the right track.
Because he net.
He's not, the seller's not gonna get 100% of his money. He's only gonna get how much of it?
He's gonna get 100,000, but the 10% minus is it gonna be, because he's gotta take out the commission of it.
Commission from 100% of the money he's gonna get.
So it'd
He's
be
got-
90,000.
He's gonna get 0.9% of the money. Let's look at it. So
Wait a minute.
he's not gonna get 100% of his
It's a
money.
net.
Yeah, he
He's-
wanted net 100.
He wants, that's what he wants. He wants to walk away. His results,
Right.
his check
Net, 100,000.
is 100,000.
Okay.
But he doesn't get, he said, you
That's
need
what I
to,
was
I
looking
need to get that after you get yours. So he's not gonna get 100% of the money, he's only gonna get 90% of it. So he's getting 90%, we had 100,000, put that in the calculator, hit the divide button, 0.9 this time, because it's 90%. There you go, 111,000.
Yeah,
And they will have that, I heard 100, somebody said
Yeah,
110.
they got me.
Somebody liked that one, they're gonna give that one to you. They're gonna say, hey, look at this one.
That one definitely on there too.
Yeah,
It got me too.
they will.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, you know what I'm saying, but I forgot it was 10%. The commission is 10%, so if you still want to net 100,000, yeah, he still got it.
You gotta, well, you subtract it from what
Subtract it.
he would have,
What he
he's not gonna
would've
get
gotten,
100%, he's gonna get 90% of the money. Whoops. This one gets everybody.
Seven made 25,000.
Y'all don't look ahead on your notes now. But this one usually gets everybody.
100,000 go.
I remember on my test, I probably spent 10 minutes on this question. But that's right, they want you
Put the
frustrated.
25,000 at the top, right?
You would have to do
And
the
the 100,000 down.
25
25%?
as a percent, yeah, or the 25,000.
You made
25%?
25%. Yeah, if it's 100,000 and you made 25,000, it's 25%, right? What is the
Who said
profit
what's the
percent?
profit?
It's 25%.
You headed there.
You're on the right track, but
I don't know, that's what it
It's
seems to
profit.
me.
it's profit.
100,000 profit
You
of
would have to
25,000
add-
is 25%.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to add 25.
You'd have to add the profit.
Why do you have to have 25?
Because he made that profit.
You made profit, so if I have 100,000 and I made 25,000, it's 25% of 100,000.
So that's
You gonna subtract it, that's right, it's 75,000.
Yeah.
It's
We've seen
75.
this problem before.
Yeah. We wanna subtract that because he made a $25,000 profit
On
on
that.
$100,000.
But
So what's the
what did
percentage?
he?
What's the-
you
what
got-
percentage did
You
he
got,
make?
you're almost there. You
So
gotta
you
take
got-
one more step.
You got
75%.
There you
Yeah.
go. There you
Yeah.
go. He didn't pay 100. He
Yeah.
only paid what? He made 25,000 on. So what did he pay? 75. He made 25 on a $75,000 sale. I said he paid 75 for it. He made 25. So
I did it backward.
Oh, okay, so we got that part. So we, well, the question asked the wrong.
The base was
Back it
25,000. You said what is
made
the profit percent?
25,000 on a $100,000 sale.
He said, what was the profit?
What's the profit percentage? Tell you, I spent 10 minutes on this one on my test. I don't know that I ever got it right.
That still don't make sense to me.
All right, you bought a diamond and you paid $75,000 for it,
Okay.
and then when you sold it for 100,000,
I made 25%.
you made how much?
25%?
You made
We
20.
need to go to his diamond store.
I'm coming shopping on
It can't be 75, that's gonna 100%.
No,
Yeah,
I bought it for 75,000.
He making deals that makes his
But
liver
you made
quiver.
$25,000. You didn't make 25%.
Okay.
You made more than that.
I'm mixing something.
You paid 75,000 for that diamond.
Okay.
You sold it for 100, which gave you a $25,000 profit.
Okay.
So 25,000 divided by 75,000.
See, they don't give us.
That's your percentage
75.
profit.
33%, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying, okay, I got it.
So basically, you're saying you have $100,000 sale, but your profit was $25,000. So you have to take the $25,000 off of the $100,000 to get your base cost.
What you
is
pay
what
for
he's
it,
saying.
yes.
So
Friends,
then you take the $75,000 as your base on the left-hand side,
Exactly.
and that's what you divide. You take your 25 divided by your 75 to get your percentage on the right-hand side. Are y'all following it now? You have to take the 25 out of the 100 because you're trying to get what your base is on the left-hand side, your
Just
cost,
that
in
was
other words.
spent, what was spent.
Right.
So anything made, you gotta take it away from what it
what
sold
you
for.
paid if you're looking for the
In
profit.
this question, because they're asking you
The percentage.
the percentage of your profit.
profit.
So you have to take your, you made 25, so you gotta take that out of the
Out of what it
100,000.
sold for.
Yeah. So you didn't pay 100 for it. You sold it for 100. You only paid 75. Because it said you made a $25,000 profit. So you only paid $75,000 for that.
So what's the percentage of profit?
That's
All right. Y'all like that one?
No, I ain't like
I bet you they get more points at the real estate test on this question than any other question they give.
Let me take a picture of it.
You didn't make 25% profit on it.
Well, he did, he made a
Yeah, 20,
$25,000
he made-
profit,
33%.
but he wants to know the percentage of your
Right.
profit, and your base is 75,000.
Correct.
So you're trying to find the percentage of the 25,000 to the 75,000.
Yes,
Not the 100,000,
exactly.
which is 25,000 to 75,000 is 33%.
Exactly. Now, y'all need to get the friend sitting next to you when you go to test.
Yeah.
Yeah, get both of y'all kicked that.
Alright, another one. Return on investment. What will an investor pay for a cash flow? Where they're gonna get you on this one is you'll forget that they're giving you the $1,000 rent. But you've got to convert that to an annual number. All your return on investment problems are annual numbers.
12,000.
And they'll say $1,000 per quarter, $1,000 semi-annual. You've got to convert that to a year, get it to an annual number. So you got $12,000 net rent. And he wants a 10% return on his investment. Not going to buy it if he can't get 10% on his money. He'll buy something else. That's what investors do. They look at the options. Well, I can get 10% here, I can get 11% there, I can get 15% here, but it's way riskier. That's what they're weighing here is risk. A 10% return on investment on a $12,000 annual rent, that's what they'll pay. $120,000. Now, let's just say you only paid $90,000 for it. Can we figure his return on investment?
Is he getting $1,000?
Yeah, everything else is, yeah, that's the same. He's still getting the $12,000 a year. How we gonna figure that?
So he's getting
He get
90,000?
13%.
That
House
sounds
price is
good.
90,000?
Well, he's gonna get $12,000 in rent, just like he was gonna get.
Okay.
But instead of paying $120,000 for it, he only had to pay $90,000.
So his money go up.
So you're gonna put the 90 where the 120 is?
Yes.
Correct.
So
Right.
you're gonna divide the 90
13%.
into the
The
12,000.
12 divided by 90.
Into the 90.
Put this
Correct.
number in first. 12,000, divide button, 90,000. Laura says 13%. That sounds right. That's what happens. Risk and return.
So your ROI always is an annual number.
Yes, always annual. Oh, Kathy, we losing you.
I'm following
You
you.
good? All right. Now, they're gonna complicate it a little bit for you. They're not just gonna give you all these little softballs and say, ooh, here's an easy one. They're gonna give you something like this. You've got expenses of 25%. So, you got $1,000 a month rent. Of course, it's 12 months. They'll tell you whether it's, you know,
12,000.
monthly, quarterly, semi-annual. They'll tell you what you got to multiply it by. It's not like they're going to say you got $12,000 in rent this year, and you want a 10% return. What will you pay? Now they're going to make you work a little bit for it. You got some expenses here that are going to come out. 25%. So you're going to multiply the 1,000 times the 12 times what?
25%.
0.75. And there's your, well, they wanted 10%, that's what the market value would be. Now, sometimes investors look at it and say, okay, we can cut those expenses down. I can put my own people in there and we can do it for 20%. That would change these numbers. He would either be willing to pay more for it, or he would get a higher rate of return. It's like just moving numbers around. House costs $91,000 today. Where does that number go? That's our results. Anytime you say now, today, that's now, that's results, that's up here. That's your check. You got a $91,000 check today. House has, what was the original cost? So which one are we looking for?
Base.
The base. What did it cost? How many years ago was it? 7 years ago. Now watch them on this. Written out 7. Over there you got the number 5 written.
Per year though.
Yes. But you got a number written over there, and you're expecting another number, and you don't see it, and you miss that 7 altogether. They're challenging. So watch them on changing up. So, how are we going to deal with this?
Well, it's 5% per year, and it's 7 years, so you have to figure out the 5% of what it would do in 7 years instead of doing that.
Right.
So, how do we do that?
Alright.
0.35?
Instead of 100% here, because if we had 91,000 here, and we got 100% here, it'd be 91,000 over here. So instead of 100, we got to depreciate. What you think that means? Take it off. Take some money off. How much you think we need to take off? 5 times 7. Put that in the parenthesis. So it's 65% of what its value was 7 years ago. Worth 91,000 today, and it's lost 5% of its value each year. Don't worry about compounding.
Okay, that's what I was.
Yeah, you mind? Don't.
Okay.
We're not accountants.
Good.
We're lucky to get the 7 times 5. Just give us that. It's gone down 5% over 7 years, so it's only worth 65% of what it was worth when you bought it. There it is. Now, let me ask you this. What if it went up 7%? What would we do differently?
You wouldn't minus it.
What would we do instead?
Times it times 35%.
Plus.
Plus right there. And we're going to have one in just a minute where it's gone up 5% over the last 7 years.
So where you messing up at, you got that percent sign right there. Well, you should charge those percent.
Right, yeah, it should be, yeah, you're right, I'm
So
sorry.
that's where
It should be
you messing us
a
up.
0.1 right there.
Right. A 1 point.
Huh?
1.
Yeah, 1, that's 1.
1.0. Zero.
I should have put, well, that's right.
I thought you was just trying to get an example of that's 100%.
Yes, it is. That's 100% of the money but we just only work,
Yeah, but if you're gonna do math right there in that, under that rate, you want it in math, you got to.
That's why I said the parentheses, you gotta figure that part
I
out first.
should-
Right, but to
I should've
multiply
written this-
5% times 7, you're gonna change that 5% to 0.05.
I should have either done that
What he's saying
0.05
is,
or
at
out here,
100%,
put
you should
65%.
put 1.0 minus 0.35. If he's gonna do his percentages, it
Right.
needs to be
Cause
consistent.
it is a
Yeah.
0.35 or you 35,
Cause 35 is.
65, I mean.
But y'all see how it works though.
Right.
I thought you
Even
was
though I
trying to
can't write a
explain
math
it.
equation.
He is, Cedric.
Yeah, but
Apples and
Y'all see that?
oranges. He wants apples.
now when you get to that test, alright, I'm just saying,
You're right.
when you're trying to teach us, you need to be
I
like.
need to do a better job of teaching you how to.
See how he's got,
I mean,
he's
I
got
understand it.
0.65, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I understood when I wrote it. It made sense to me.
I mean, I get
It
what
makes
you're saying.
sense. It makes sense. I'm just saying from a teacher standpoint. You just told us like 5 slides back that it's gonna be a percentage there, but you need to change it to decimal.
Yes, I
And
should
then
have
you sat
changed it.
there and stuck
And
decimal.
I put two of them
percentages
together
in
and
there,
mixed them
yeah.
all up. Yeah,
Right. I'm just saying.
I apologize.
And the 5 times
I'll do it again.
All right, here it is again.
No.
Now, we've got appreciated. That means it's gone up in value. Same thing, 5% last 7 years. What was its original price?
So it's 130. Let's see.
So you'll times it times 0.05 times 7 years. And put
So how are we gonna
that
set it up? Alright? Where's that going?
Today.
Results.
Yeah, it says results.
Mhm.
That's gonna go right there. Because that's what it's sold for today.
Mhm.
We don't know this one. That's what we're looking for, the original base price.
You're just gonna change the minus sign to a plus sign. Right?
Basically, that's what we're gonna do.
Mhm.
Pretty much, that's what we're gonna do. I messed that one up too. Yeah, well, I'm gonna fix those.
You gonna get that person.
I've already got this out there in internet land too, so there's people all over the world saying, you don't know how to do that.
I
Fix
missed that
it.
question because of you.
Yeah, because of you. They're gonna, I gotta go take the test again.
No, you need to study.
Now, there's only one place in all of math that the big number is gonna be up here. All these other problems we've done, the little number's here and the big number's here. But in this one, in an appreciation problem, the big number is gonna be on the top. Just don't be, so when you see, oh no, the big number's not supposed to be on the top. And this one it will be. Okay, 1.35%, and that's what it originally sold for. And they sold it today for $91,000.
That's pretty good.
That's a good return. Here's what happens if you put them in the wrong place. Like if you had to put your 91,000 down here, because we, $91,000 a day, we know that should be results. But if you put it in the wrong place, you thought, well, that sounds like that should be the base number because that's what we're selling for. That's the price of the house. Yeah, Tara. That's what the price of the house is. But if you put it in there and solve it, you're gonna get a goofy number. You say, well, it appreciated. Why is it a bigger number? That doesn't make any sense at all. Here we go. Let's set one up. What did the owner originally pay for a home if it sold for $98,672 today? Before we go any further, where does that number go? At the top. That's our result. Sold it today for that. Gave it 12% profit over the original cost. What's going to go here?
12%. No,
Time.
We're going to have the 12%
Plus
plus
1.12.
1.12.
1.12.
1.12 right there. So we're going to put 98,672 in the calculator, hit the divide button, and then about 1.12
88,000.
give us that number. There it is, 88.1. Loan to value. You can get an 80% loan, conventional, that's kind of a standard conventional rate. 80% of the value of the house is what you can borrow. That's called loan to value. So you've got an $80,000 loan and you got 80% loan to value on it. What's the purchase price of that house?
No, it's
64.
So if you want to get the loan for 80,000, you got to come up with 20%.
20%, yes.
Point percent.
Last year.
That's all it is.
So I got to pay $20,000 on 100. I got
Well,
100,000.
what you need to do then is either buy in a rural area where you can get 100% loan, or be a veteran where you can get 100% loan, or an FHA loan, which is 96.5%. Those are our different loan to value ratios. This one is going to be a conventional. Just get used to seeing 80% is a conventional loan.
Stay away from conventional loans.
Well, conventional loans have their advantage because you don't have any mortgage insurance.
Yeah, you ain't gotta do the insurance on those.
Right, and
Yeah,
that
because you done paid
that'll
$20,000.
take a big bite out of you.
Yeah.
All right, what's the purchase price of this house? 100,000. Let's see.
That's what I said.
Yeah, you said it before you even got the calculator out. It says that's 100,000.
Yeah, it's a simple
You
number.
start to see the pattern.
It ain't gonna be that simple.
No, they're not. No, it'll be your loan. You got a loan for $77,312, and you got a conventional loan on it. But it works the same way. You put 77,312 in there, and hit the divide button. 0.8 equals, and it'd give you the price of the house. Here we go. This is an FHA loan, 96.5%. Finance is Thursday night. We're going to talk about the different kinds of loans. Right now we're just seeing how the math works. This is an FHA loan. That means you've got to put down 3.5%. And you've got to pay an upfront mortgage premium, and you got to pay an extra 0.5% on the loan amount. That's why you want to get that conventional loan, unless you know, if you got the 20%, that's what you want to get.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you got all these
20%,
extra
yeah.
fees.
That's a lot of money.
So what's our purchase price? Start off, where does our 176 go? Gonna go on the base.
What is
Purchase
purchase
price of
price?
the loan is
Oh, wait a minute,
176.
so wait a
Oh.
minute. What is the
That's
purchase
the lowest
price?
at the top, man.
See, your.
That's our
well,
result.
on the
Yeah,
loan
the
is-
result
That's our result.
Yeah.
That's what we're getting.
That's what you got.
And
176.
Rate never ever moves.
Right.
Always right there. We just have to move the decimal on this one.
0.96.
0.965. And hit the divide button, and there it is. Purchase
So,
price.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but what I saw was results, right? So I just glanced up there. You said, well, so we are solving for the result, right?
And well, most of these you are solving for the result.
But
Yeah, we
that
got-
176 is the result.
That is the result.
So I'm saying when you have results at the top, that may throw some people off. You know what I'm saying? Because that is the result. We solve for the result, but the result is given.
And Nate's got a common problem here. You've got a number. Does it go on the top or does it go on the bottom? That's a common, where does it go?
Right.
The great part of this formula is it doesn't matter. Put it up there, solve it. And if your number is goofy, I put it in the wrong place. You just change it, solve it again, you look at that one and say, that one looks about right. That's the beautiful part about this formula. It's self-correcting. You put the wrong, and the rate always goes here. You never have to worry where it is. Always right here. You got two numbers. You put it in the wrong place, solve it. Well, let's just say you put 176 over here times 9.65, and what have you got? Got a smaller number. Well, you know you're not going to pay, I mean, your loan's not going to be more than the price of the house. So you said, that ain't right. Let me just switch that around and try it again.
Still come out better with that one. You're gonna get 6,000 plus the little half percent.
Now here they're going to give you the opportunity not to read everything. And they're good at that. I know I read through things sometimes quick and fast.
I know, right?
90% loan to value on an $88,500 house. Put $4,500 down, how much more have you got to put down? This is at least a two-part problem. They're not going to give you all just one part, solve this. They're going to make you work with something. So what are we going to do first?
Gonna minus the earnest money from the 88,500. But no, you gotta keep that in there because it's a
Oh, first.
90%.
Yeah,
And it's a 90%, so you need to keep that in there. So you need to, do you need to add that to the 88,000?
well first we need to figure out how much earnest, how much is the loan? How much is the loan?
How much more money is needed? So 88,000 plus the earnest money times the 90% loan to value.
I don't know the big plus. I think we need to take the earnest money off. Alright, well, right, just, y'all seen enough of these now. 90% on an 88,500. Where does that go?
That's your base.
That's gonna be
Top
base.
base.
That's the price of the house. It says so right there, house.
Yeah.
See right here? House. Right there, house here, 90% here,
Right.
So you multiply,
multiply.
you get 79,000.
Then you minus the 4.
Well, you should get 8,850. That's our down payment. What?
Why?
We should have done I should have got that 100% out there again and put it over there and written 100% minus 90. Because we're trying to find out 10% of the purchase price. That's all we're after. How much money we got to put down?
Oh, okay, so it's supposed to be 88.5 times 10%.
Yes. So it would be $8,850. That's how much money we've got to put down to get that loan.
And then take the earnest money out of it.
And that's where they're going to trip you up. Because they're going to have 88,500 down here as one of the
Go
answers.
circle it.
And they'll have 4,500 down here as one of the answers. Neither one of those are the right answer. You got to subtract the 4,500 from the 80. There we go.
I did that. Cherry, Cedric.
Okay. You was on top of that one.
Yeah, I was awake when I did this one. There it is, that we got our earnest money, our down payment, that's what we're after. So we're gonna subtract that. We still need $4,350. And that'll be one of the answers too. And then they'll pull something else in there, but we know what 3 of the answers are gonna be. The total down payment, the amount you've already put down, and then the subtracted amount. They're gonna have 3 really nice looking numbers there that you're gonna say, I wish I'd have gone to that math class that night.
So the 8,850 is the down payment.
Yes,
Yes.
that's to get a 90% loan on an $88,000 purchase. Looks like we've seen one of these.
Sold today.
Oh no, we've got a complication.
Paying $5,000 for the buyer's closing costs. And $5,000 for the buyer's closing costs. So that come off of the price of the home. The 5,000. The closing costs, you come off the price.
Right up there, yep.
Yeah.
So it's sold today for 98,672, and then we gotta do something with that $5,000.
Subtract it from that.
Subtract the 5,000.
Yeah.
What do we gotta do here? How we gonna deal with that?
Profit, that's
So
plus.
we gave a profit, so profit is
Over original.
1.12.
Here we go.
That's an 8.
1.12. So we got that, subtracted the 5,000. That's our net number. There's the profit, the 12%. Right there, that's what he paid. 83,635. There it is. And probably that's maybe $5,000. Yeah, that's $5,000, just subtracting the $5,000 off of there. Not sure where those other numbers came from, but they probably a way you could
Mess up.
solve it wrong, and that'll be one of the answers. Y'all with me so far?
Yes.
Haven't lost anybody yet.
They want
It comes really fast. It comes fast, but it's all based on the T. And once you get that straight, then all these other things you can just plug in where they go. Now we're going to complicate it a little bit. The seller wants to add your 5% commission to the $100,000 needed net from this sale. What's the listing price? There's how we take that 5% out. And we did that before. He wanted you to add your commission. That's what we're doing. Add your commission. And needs to net 100,000. There's the net. 95%. Oh, I should put 0.95. I gotta do so much work to fix this.
Oh.
Get all my little dots in the right place.
Be eyes, Dave.
Now, net, this is not a net listing, even though he needs to net a number. We haven't talked about net listings yet. They're illegal in Alabama. Net listing is where the seller says, you can have everything over 100,000. That's a net listing. This, he's saying, add your commission to my 100,000. Not you can have everything over it. So this is not a net listing. So, what do we need to list this house for?
$95,000.
95,000.
Right
I don't think that's right. What do you got? Anybody?
now.
got?
105.
Yeah,
Yeah.
105 and probably some
260,
change, yeah.
105, 262.
And they'll have that 105
105.
as one of your wrong answers down there. That divided by 0.95, and so there's $263. Your instinct is to just add the 5,000 to the 100,000. And they'll have that as a wrong answer. They'll have 105 as one of your possibilities.
Yeah, all you gotta do is plug the answer in the base
That's right, that's confusing.
and multiply it times the rate.
Oh, it's gonna get worse.
Because you add the commission, but you take it away from the percentage. That's,
After you do a couple of them, you run through these and you do the problems, they'll jump out at you and say, oh, I see how that one works. We can complicate this one more step. Oh no! Oh no! The buyer wants you to pay $5,000 in their closing cost. I didn't want to just mess y'all up, so I put it up here to begin with. So we have two things on this one. We still have, he wants you to add your 5% commission. So that means he's only gonna get 95% of the money.
Right.
But we gotta add the 5,000 up here to what he still wants that 100,000. So we got to bump it up 5 more thousand. So we've gotta have 5,000 here as our result in order to pay that 100, huh?
110,526.
Now he's seeing those little numbers now. That sounds good. There it is.
There it is.
Now here's the wonderful part about it. Right down here. You're getting paid a commission on their closing cost.
Because they wanted to add it.
Because that raises the sale price to 105. Instead of the sale price being 100 and you getting 5% on that, which would be 5,000, you're going to get paid 5% on 105,000. So you're going to get extra $526. No, it was a little less than that because part of that came over here. But you're getting extra commission. Love commission. Alright, we kind of through with the math for a minute. We're going, let me not think about math for a minute. Let me think about something else. Chances are you're going to get paid a commission percentage. But you don't have to be. You could be paid a flat fee. You may be working at a builder that says, I'm going to pay you $2,000 on every house you sell. Doesn't give you much motivation to sell the upgrades, does it? Well, most of the time they're going to take that out of your hands anyway. They're going to get you to make the sale, and then they're going to say, come on over to the design center. Now they got somebody over there that's getting paid a commission on upgrades. But you don't have to get paid a commission. You may get paid a flat fee. You may get paid an hourly rate. You may be sitting at a builder's model home for, $10 an hour. Doesn't matter. You're going to get paid some way. Hourly, flat fee, any agreed amount. Now here's the deal that we got to remember, and this usually is a test question. Somebody says, what's the going rate on commissions here?
There is no going rate.
Very good. There is no going rate. Our commissions are based on the services we offer.
Negotiation.
And the price of the house normally. That's what I look at. If it's a $100,000 house, 6% is probably fair. But what if it's $1 million house? You think they're going to pay you 6%?
No.
Not like they need to, they should.
Why should it change?
Well, they're not going to pay you 6% to sell $1 million house.
A lot of money.
They're not going to do it. They're better negotiators.
$60,000. That's who's going to
Yeah.
pay $60,000? They can't make that in a year.
If they got $1 million house, you can bet they know how to negotiate.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Yeah, you can bet on that.
And they got $1 million house, they mean they got some money.
And they need to share. Share love. Share love.
Tell them that.
But you have to justify your commission. And usually it's based on the price of the house.
Okay.
Other agents are likely going to be the one that sells the house. You've got a slim chance, maybe a 1% chance of selling your own listing. So you've got to have others involved in it. And commissions are broken in two pieces. You've got a listing commission. That's the person that found the seller, got the listing agreement, and put it on the MLS to sell. Then you've got another agent that will have a buyer. And they'll bring that buyer over to your listing, and they didn't do it just because they wanted to ride around that day. They thought they were going to get paid.
Split the commission.
So usually the commission is split equally between the listing and the selling. Doesn't have to be. We've got a flipper that is part of her deal. She'll reduce her commission. Instead of getting 3%, well, she's getting part of the profit. She's getting, the rehab work. There's more money in there for her. So she'd rather do it for a lower commission because she's gonna make more in the long run. You may have somebody that you're doing a bunch of houses with. You may cut it for them. You may offer them a deal of, all right, we'll list it for 5%, but if we sell it, we'll do it for 4. I'd rather get 4 than 2.5. Yeah. And not many others are gonna offer them that kind of deal. So everything's negotiable. What is your time worth? That's what the bottom line is. You want to work for free? Say, well, we don't need a commission. My broker wants his cut, but I'll do it for free. No. Violation of antitrust, Sherman Act, 1890. Now, there's going to be an office split. Your broker's going to get a percentage, and if you're in a national franchise like Keller Williams, those kind of places, they take a cut right off the top. And then your commission's figured from that next level down there. But then they're advertising. They're getting leads. Think that has value? Yeah. Well, that's why they're doing that. Remax. You think that balloon's up there flying for free?
Nope.
You watching the Super Bowl and there goes a Remax balloon floating across there? Yeah, that costs some money. Who's paying that?
Franchise.
The agents are paying that fee. But then people see that, they call them.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going on.
Well, if you got bread, you can get your own balloon, you know.
Get your own balloon.
It might not feel like you're in the Super
Yeah, they ain't gonna be the blimp.
These are just some of the other agent fees that you'll have in this business. Transaction fee. Some brokerages charge you every time you do a transaction fee with them, you got to pay. The franchise fee, advertising fee. A lot of them have a desk fee. Whether you go to the office or not, there's a fee, $100 or so, just because you got your license here. Some of them will let you pay them so much per month, and then you get most of the commission. It's all relative. If you can produce and you can make a lot of sales, the broker will cut a deal with you. Most of them will have a cap. Once you pay them a certain amount in a year, rest of it's all yours. I'd rather keep you, let you get up to here. I made all this money. Where a lot of other agents only got that. You're here, I want to keep you. You just keep all the rest of your commission. And it works. Now you've also got, some companies have E&O insurance. It's about $500 a year. They've not required that in Alabama since 1987.
Really?
So you really don't have to have it here. We've got mediation arbitration clause in the contract. They can't sue you. That's what E&O insurance is for, they sue you. Dues, MLS dues. If you want your listings to go out onto the market so you can get your commission, whatever it is, you're going to have somewhere you can put them. The MLS, Multiple Listing Service, is where they go. Multiple Listing Service charges you by the month. And now they want it by the year. Used to we paid them each month. Well, they had so much trouble collecting money, they'd have to chase people down every month, so finally they said, we're just going to get it once a year. And if you don't have it paid by the end of that next month, we just cut you off. I got to stay in business. I guess I got to go out and sell some plasma, get my MLS turned back on. Realtor. And you'll always see Realtor capitalized. And I don't know if it's a little C or I think it's an R, registered trademark. That's a trade organization. You don't have to belong to a trade organization unless your broker belongs to it. So if a lot of companies out here are not board members, and that'll save you about $500 a year. There are other trade groups. These are just some of their initials. This is a commercial CCIM designation. Well, you're going to be in commercial, you probably want to go after that designation. Well, you got to pay for it, and you got to pay for it every year to keep it going. Keep those initials after your name. And in training, it's about $10 an hour for all your CE, any of your classes.
That's with other brokers, right?
Outside of you.
Well, I've got the best deal in town.
Yeah.
That's why you're here. You just heard. Yeah, I probably don't need to be discussing our cuts because this is going out on the internet. But you'll like it. Now, to make you more productive, you need somebody helping you. You can only do so much with your hands. You've only got so many minutes in an hour, so many hours in a day that you can get out and do things. Well, if you've got to do everything yourself, you don't have time to go show houses. You don't have time to go list stuff.
Tell me about it.
So, what are you going to do?
Hire
There you go. Where is it? Right there. You can get an unlicensed assistant or a licensed assistant. There are a lot of people out here that have a license that really don't want to go out and deal with people. They don't like people. They really stay in the office and do things. Shuffle some papers around. Look up stuff on the MLS. Put listings in. Well, that's a person that you can use to magnify or multiply your time. Instead of you sitting in the office, putting MLS listings in, going out and putting signs up, putting lock boxes on them, doing the pictures, doing all these things, you can hire somebody to do that. And if they are not licensed, they can do all those things. If they are licensed, then they can actually go show the property for you. You've got 2 houses you need to have open this weekend. If you have a licensed assistant, you've just doubled your chance of making a sale this weekend, or picking up a buyer, or one of the neighbors wanting to sell their house that come in there and say, "Oh, y'all sell houses in this neighborhood? Can you help me with mine?" No.
Sure.
Well, we don't have time for you. Unlicensed assistants cannot do the barn sale. Remember that? Licensed, they can do anything you can do. Okay. Open houses. You got to have somebody there that's licensed. You can't send the mortgage or the title person that really wants to help you do more business so you give them more business. You can't let them go do your open house because they're not licensed. But they can be there with you and giving out information on mortgages, but they can't talk about the house. That's not in their wheelhouse. They can talk about mortgages. Your licensed assistants, used to, they didn't want anyone in an open house that wasn't a licensee. But things have changed. It's dangerous to be in an empty house by yourself. So now they say, okay, if you need somebody in there with you as a safety person, great. But they can't talk about the house unless they are licensed.
But, okay, so where you've got, compensation can be anything agreed on.
Yes.
If you have a licensee in there helping you with an open house, do you pay them a fee to be there to help you with, say you're not there, but another agent goes to hold the open house for you, to be there, do you pay them a fee to be at the open house?
You could, whatever you want to
Does
pay.
it go through the broker?
If you are licensed, you can only be paid by the broker. The unlicensed assistant can be paid by the agent. But if they're licensed, it has to go through the broker. Now, let's just say you want her to hold the house for you. You're going to say, you know, I know this is the first time I've ever seen a house, but if I sell it, I won't have the commission. You going to go for that?
If you, yeah, if you. Well, if it's the license, you could do that,
You could,
but you can't do
Well,
anything
we're gonna
other
get
than
along for the
research
rest of our
your
lives, I'm probably gonna do that.
probably gonna do that. You're probably gonna co-list them with her. That would be the better way, and both of you divide up the work. Because if one of you's doing all the work, and the other one's sitting home playing video games, and I know that's you playing the video
Oh,
games.
yeah. Like, I know how to do that.
It won't work out, but yeah, there's, in the property management business, you've got to show the houses. As a rule, what we'll do is we'll pay somebody like $20, $25 to go unlock the house and let them walk in and walk around and then lock it back up. That's about all they're doing. You
Is that
think
all
they
you
should
pay them?
do what?
Is that all you pay them?
Well, that's all it's worth.
That's cool.
All you do is turn the lock.
That's all it's worth. You're just
Open the
going
lock.
unlocking the house. You do it on your way home. Took you 5 minutes and you made $25.
There's that other system that I like a lot where you pay online and for the code and you can use the code.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, they're cutting that agent out, that's what they're
Mhm.
doing.
Because then you only have to pay, you do it on your credit card so you know they're safe
You
and
know
nobody
who's in
has.
there.
Yes, and you have a video camera, all that sort of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And as soon as they check out, I like that. AHI uses that.
Yeah, that's called Rently,
Mm-hmm.
is the name of the company, and those boxes are $1 a day. And, 1 month, there's one person going and opening it one time. Some people like it. I like it. I've tried it. I'm not using it now because I got people that'll work for cheap.
$25 is cheap.
Ah,
I know, right? You don't get a job with $25.
And personal service, does add the extra care.
yeah, making this closing the sales.
I feel
while
like
the person's
we've already
there.
had 5 people see it today, so you
Yeah.
need to go ahead and act on it.
Right now. Okay, we have moved past that. Let's go ahead and take our break here, and then we'll jump into this next segment.
Did y'all see the YouTube videos?
I got the whole first law one on there, 2.5 hours. It's on there now.
Have y'all seen the YouTube
Yeah, it's on
videos?
YouTube.
Check it out. What's it under?
And my name, or you can go to our company, our school page.
These people taking these classes and putting them on YouTube.
Video.
That way you can go back over them
Video.
and stuff.
Got the first one up, and the second
That's
one
what
is
it on there.
process.
It's just things
I
that
don't know. I
all
just
speed.
Process, we'll probably get it overnight.
Yeah, has his face on it.
That's good.
This one I'll work on again. I'm not editing them yet.
Are you just putting them up?
They're just like raw footage.
That's good.
Uh,
That's even better
Well, I
because
think
there's
it
a lot of
is
stuff. I think a lot of that stuff is so edited. You just want to like that.
Well, like right now, this is being recorded, and this is gonna go out there, and they see our conversation. Well, we may cover something in this little conversation that we missed in the class. And it will say, oh, wow, yeah, I should talk about that.
Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna go check that.
Check it out, and like them too.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I had 14 people already look at the first one.
Okay. You feel like it.
Evidently you had it set up LinkedIn. I'm like, nope, I have not. But I
Yeah,
don't
what's
want to
going
do,
on?
I don't want to do Facebook.
Yeah.
It's so much
Wait, well,
personal,
How did you
casual
say?
stuff on
oh,
here.
the time.
It's not really business oriented.
Yeah, that's cool. I talked to
And you
her.
have to be careful because
She
some
said
people
that,
trying to do the same
she'll
thing
get,
as me, and I just,
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
I just don't know.
And she
I'm
could try to
doing,
come
keep going,
tomorrow,
I don't
but-
have time for it.
She
Yeah.
was saying that it'd probably be.
So I'm not on anything right now. I
People
just
from golf
refuse to get
come
on it
in
right
late or
now.
something, but it wasn't like a real definite guarantee that
What
I
we had
get an open
last
tomorrow.
time,
Mm-hmm.
how much just put more on one page.
But I'll text her.
No, I like it better.
I'll text her again
Yeah,
tomorrow, call her tomorrow and see, and I'll let you know. Cause I told her Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, and she was like,
Yeah, because he need to put his nail on so I can look at
Wednesday and
it.
Friday, we definitely could. She knew about Tuesday.
The video.
Cause I think somebody should watch him play at like 6 o'clock.
Because sometimes when
So
you do it,
it's
it's going, oh, okay. Because
DJCC.
these problems,
Well, the game probably won't be over till about 7:30 or
the
later.
problems that you actually went over. That's all I'm saying.
You say that?
You know,
I was just giving her the days just in case, like, cause I, you know, Monday and Thursday, Tuesday, Friday. So I just told her all 3 days just in case. If she was able to do it, y'all didn't come, I probably would have took my
you
son.
report it back to your broker.
I know it is, but it's too early.
Okay, I'll let you know tomorrow.
Yeah. We don't need to talk. We really don't do much of a relationship. It's strictly cash flow.
I'm trying to get myself together today to get my studying done that I need to. Which is crazy. I was pushing too.
Yeah.
I'm done. This is enough to because I was trying to finish up them terms. It took a minute just to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can still do these amount of terms a day, but
It's a lot. It's just not for me. I just say it's not like I know all this stuff. It's cold in here.
I got a sweater on under this stuff. I don't know. Oh, now you really gonna wake up and drink that. You really gonna wake up and drink that.
So what you do is you say, give me 20% down, and then so much, you know, you taking in 10,000 a month, management fees, you just send that on to me.
It's just the annual thing and I didn't go last year, but I don't remember them seeing the information. But I had a question on because it was like, you know, okay, so what is, you get so much in your life, what, how do you know, what's the benefit of me wanting to stay with you versus for somebody I'm just stumped on? You know, maybe just telling me all I'm good to you. It was short and sweet. Yeah, I ate something.
In this group, I've got the American class tonight, probably 5 of them.
Just think that we're supposed to know.
Service.
For what you're getting, you could do it. Well, you gotta be in 2 years.
Sales.
Yeah, you gotta be.
I've been up for a couple of years and pay for it.
Well, my thought is you really need to do at least 15 or 20 transactions.
I called you some more.
Before you go to
Probably when you come in.
And I hired you for the first question. What do you go about this niche? I've never seen it. Yeah.
Oh, I've had it too many.
Oh.
Oh, he did a lot. Oh, he did a lot of everything. Time they was a money.
Me too, I'm working on a real hard. Me too, I'm working on a real hard.
If you shoot a girl in the gym, I believe we could take off. Training, basketball. At Thompson. I'm training them. I got a few. One, she was a top on the giant with Crystal. She was talking to the giant, they stay out there. And she was like, from just posting videos, she was like, can one day, this was when I first moved out there. Can one day, well, I had the gym, they clean up. They weren't paying, so they was about to learn this way. Yeah, I'm trying 25 sessions per person, and like 35 or 45 for one-on-one. We ain't gotta make it affordable. I'm starting out. It's still if I can get 10 people, but night that's $250. I don't know.
So you didn't bring shit.
I'm really going. I don't know before.
Where is all about?
It's the girl coach. The girl middle school coach. I met with her because Crystal called her and she was like, yeah, I could have been in the gym without charging. So I opened the door, the door open.
You were training her girls, right?
For her team.
8th grade or 7th?
I got 7 grades now. But she coached the 7 and 8. Then I was telling her, I was like, when we go to the middle school to talk to the 5th and 6th grade, you can refer me. She was like, yeah, I do that. But she said, I sent out a message throughout my 8th and 7th grade time to let them know that you will be training and this, that, and the other. So 3 people showed up last week.
So they had 5 and 6.
But she got to do it. Like, if I was in 7th grade coach, I'm going to look at my 6th grade. Because you got to go pass out the, just like a footballer. You got to go to the 6th graders, pass out the information, because they're going to start training the year before. Like the 6th grade training now for 7th grade. They're working out, doing push-ups, for some of their first grade. That way the coaches won't be so far behind on who could do what and what. A lot of people don't work with girls. Oh, they horrible. The way she just opened the gym, I used to think I was like, you open the gym one day early. I don't know. But she was like, I was like, good. Like, I'm trying to like tiptoe. She like, I can get somebody to go open it right.
Taking yourself more in the hole, just cut your losses.
You know, I'm trying to see. She was like,
I'll come in.
she was like,
I got to my
help me, help me.
Even if they look at person, they don't really look like they need to hurt. So they definitely
I told you. I changed Simon feet though, he started making it, but I never said a word.
So I'm gonna try to get a
All right.
You ain't in no rush. You get 3 hours. You You get, listen, you got 3 hours to do 150 questions, 140 questions.
Once you get your license, you'll.
That's
you'll
plenty of
get
time.
that stuff.
That's almost like what,
Commission going in and going out.
8
All
minutes
right,
per
it's
question?
time to get started again. Took my jacket off so I can see that.
You still can't see that,
Little
Steve?
artwork here.
I
Yeah.
like it.
That's nice though. Where did you get that from?
Well, I took that
Yeah, I saw that.
picture that I had, and I went on eBay, and found somebody, they print, logo stuff.
Oh,
And
okay.
they just took that and printed it on here.
Cool.
But I'm afraid to wear it during the day because it's so white. Anything you get on it is gonna stain it, so I don't put it on till like 5 minutes before class. All righty. Onward and upward. Valuation, market sales price, and yields. You've got a couple of words here. Value and price. Value is what you think it's worth. Price is what somebody else thinks it's worth and will write you a check. Value and price, and there's another one called cost. What did it cost to build this? About the only time these were equal is in new construction. When it's first built, the cost, the value, and the price are all pretty much in sync. But 10 years out, cost has nothing to do with it. Value is what you think, well, what's this area worth now? And then price is your negotiating skills. What can I actually, who do I have to write the check for, including everything?
Yeah.
Cost, capitalization rate, that's our T formula again. It's the same, we had a capitalization rate problem earlier. What does an investor want? That's a capitalization rate, your return on your investment.
Oh.
It's going to be down on the bottom over here, and then the asset that you're getting will be the house. And the principal substitution, that's what equalizes everything. You got a house that's, you think it's worth $100,000, and you want to sell it and move on. Well, you get to looking around in your neighborhood, and there are 4 other houses around there, and the most expensive one's $95. One of them's at $85. And it's more, still is $85, $90, $95, and you think yours is worth $100. That's your value. You think it's worth $100. The principal substitution says, which one is the buyer going to look at first? The most expensive one? No, probably not.
Yeah.
They don't want to pay $100 if they can get one for $85. So they're going to look at the others, and if they can justify, well, this one is really worth $100 because it's already been rehabbed, it's got new everything in it, and the one at $85 needs a complete job. So it may balance out. Now on a property, like they say, all 4 of those are all just alike. Same floor plan, the same age, nobody's updated anything in them, but you got a price between 85 and 100, and you put yours on the market at 100, what's going to happen to it? It's going to sit. It'll just sit and sit and sit, and these others will fall off the market. They'll sell. They'll sell. And then new ones are going to come on the market. Somebody's going to come on and put theirs at 105. Because when they were doing their market research, they saw, well, here's one that's 100. They didn't realize it's been on the market for 9 months. When you put it on at a high price, chances are it's going to sit and sit, and then when finally somebody makes an offer, what are they going to do?
Low.
They're going to lowball you. They are. They're going to think, something's wrong here.
Been on it too long.
Been on the market too long, there's something wrong. Well, I'm going to have 2 home inspections on this one, because there's something hidden under here I don't know about. So be careful overpricing. There's our market value, what you think. Market price is what the check was written for, and then cost. We got two different kinds of cost. Let's just say this building, the back side of it burned off. We're going to do a replacement cost. That's just, we're going to get it back. We're going to use current building methods, given this building's maybe 25, 30 years old. We'll put current methods in it. Build it back and it'll look pretty much like this. That's replacement. The other one's reproduction cost. That's where you're going to build it back just like it was. That'll be like a historical building. You know, maybe a log cabin burned off. Well, they're going to try to get the same kind of logs they had, you know, and make it just like it was. You're going to reproduce it. Y'all will get used to this initial CMA, comparative or competitive market analysis, comps we call it. They shorten it to comps. I just had one right here. This is a list of comps. These have all sold in the same area in the same time period. This area is on the north side of the airport, and the cheapest one on here is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, built in 1948, sold for $5,000. Oh, ho, I wonder what's missing in that house.
right?
Most expensive one in that neighborhood went for $71,000. All right, so just those two numbers, I'm gonna say that $5,000 house, not much going on there. There's a shell, you know, plumbing's missing, the HVAC, roof leaks, the termites are just holding hands to keep the floor going. But that's a comparable. You're looking to see what has sold. Then you try to figure out, all right, which one of these is more like the one that I'm looking at. All right, once you've got that, then you can say, okay, well, we think our property is more like this $30,000. That's about what our property. Ours is only a 2-bedroom. These others, 3 and 4 bedroom. You weigh all those things in, and you come up with, all right, here's what I think it should sell for. Appraisers, they do the same thing. They have access to about the same information you have. They're going to go, in fact, my next one right here, this is the one that we would do. We can pull this up on our MLS and put in a property that we're working on, and then we can look at the ones that have sold, kind of like that one, near that one, same time period, and come up with, okay, we think ours should sell for this. An appraiser, there's the same thing. You see the same 3 houses, but they get into deep stuff here. How big are the rooms? What kind of financing did it have? That will affect price. How old? When was the roof put on? You just see how much more detail is in here. But he's going to come up with what's called his opinion of value. That's his opinion. It's going to be pretty close, because all federally related loans have to have a licensed appraiser do an appraisal on them. For the bank to say, okay, we can feel safe that this is not just the agent's number. Because the agent's going to say, oh yeah, it's worth every bit of what we sold it for. Well, the appraiser doesn't have a dog in the fight. He's going to go out there, and they can't pick an appraiser either. Used to, like a builder would have their favorite appraiser. He appraises all the houses as they build them, and he just said, well, what'd you sell this one for? And they said, well, $157,500. His appraisal's going to come back at $157,500. He didn't have to go to the house. He knows this area, and he knows that's what it needs to sell for. Now they can't. They've got a list, and the mortgage companies just have to go to the next name on the list, and that person goes out and does it. May have never done one for that bank, but it's going to be his opinion. And it's gonna be, he's a licensed, his license, we got 60 hours, he's got 2,500. Yeah, he's looked at, well, a whole lot of houses, done a whole lot of math. He can do this in his
What's the
sleep.
difference between an appraiser and an inspector?
Alright, an appraiser is the guy that does this.
Okay,
An inspector takes one of our home inspector classes, which is a 60-hour class. You can sit right here and do it.
okay.
And you'll learn about how roof systems work, electrical, what you need to check for, grounding, ground faults. You'll look for things like, you'll learn to look for anything that looks a little weird. And then you'll put that in your report. As a rule, inspections are to renegotiate price. Whenever, you know, somebody comes in and says, you want 150 for the house, all right, we'll give you 150, but we need an inspection. Well, the inspector's gonna come back with about $10,000 worth of things that just gotta be done. Right now, the house is gonna fall over. And
But
they've
you
got,
can pick your own.
the buyer has the right to pick their inspector. The buyer has the right to pick all their services. That's restful law. We'll get into that in section 9. But yeah, your home inspector, you're gonna pick them, and then they're gonna go out and they're gonna give you a report. It's 30, 40, 50 pages, beautiful pictures, and a narrative, everything they saw, everything they believe. And then you're gonna look at that and say, oh my goodness, the house is falling in. I don't even want this one.
Yeah.
And give me my earnest money back and they'll move on.
So is this true that since 2008, the buyer or the seller's not allowed to pick their own appraiser?
Correct, since the crash.
Since the
That's
crash.
when they changed all the rules.
Okay,
Before the crash, you could just call an appraiser, your
Yeah.
brother, and say, I need you
Okay.
to appraise this house because we're moving in it. Okay, that's an appraisal. We got, on this slide, we got a couple things, depreciation. If you're having to rebuild a house, how much is it depreciated? How old is the roof? We had a fire. Well, how much is the roof depreciated? How much is the house, the carpet? You gotta look at all these different things. Land does not depreciate, but all the stuff that's on it does. You got, let's see, that's good there. Just the next one is one I wanna look at. This is curable and incurable. Those are two things you want to look at. Let's just say a house is built in 1910, didn't have plumbing in it when they built it, didn't have electrical in it when they built it, but they came back in when they first put electricity in houses, and they got these, y'all seen these old wiring with the paper wrapped around the wire?
yeah,
And
okay.
it's just tacked to the wall. All right, you're gonna look at this house and say, okay, how much is it gonna cost to actually bring it up to code? To put electrical in it like it should be with the breakers, we got plumbing in it, everything's gotta be up to code. There's no insulation in the walls. Is the house worth fixing? If it is, then those things are curable. If they're not, it's gonna cost more to do all this to it than it's worth, then it's incurable. Then just tear the house down and start over. Then you've got a couple things down on the bottom, functional obsolescence. Functional obsolescence, about the same type deal. The house was built in, let's say, 1910. They didn't have bathrooms in houses. A lot of them, most of them probably in 1910. They had an outhouse. All right, along about, 19, I don't know when they start put plumbing in, 1930, 40, somewhere along in there. They saved up their money and they knocked a hole in the wall and they put a bathroom in here. All right, but then they started having kids. Ended up having to add another bedroom and then another bedroom. So this house ended up with 5 bedrooms. And and you got one little bitty bath. Uh-oh, that sounds like functional obsolescence. Now, is it curable?
Yes.
Maybe. Could we take one of these bedrooms and turn it into a bathroom? Now we got a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. That's curable. That's overcoming the functional obsolescence. It may be an office building that was built in that time period, and they didn't have elevators then. You can't put an elevator in it now. Gotta walk up 6 flights of stairs. Functional obsolescence? Probably. Might not want to buy that building. Want to look, keep looking, find another one. Then you got some obsolescence that you cannot cure. There's a freeway. When the house was built, real nice neighborhood, everybody's happy, but then they built a freeway. Comes right along your property line. Anything you can do about that?
No.
No. That is external obsolescence that you just can't do anything about. You can't cure that. It's there.
Railroad tracks.
Yeah, railroad tracks.
That's
We just took a property in a real nice neighborhood down in Chelsea. And I drove over this little bridge,
about where I live.
and as I was driving over, there's a railroad track. And I drove on around, and the house that we took in, you can throw a rock and hit the railroad track. And while I was there, I heard the train come by. And I thought, oh no, this is not good.
Should have marked that time on your schedule, Steve.
Well,
I mean, don't show that house at that time.
it just so happens that I was waiting on people to come look at it.
And the train
Train's gone.
Oh, good.
People came up, oh, I just love it. How much? We'll take it. Now, here's your question. Was I required to disclose there was a...
Yes, you're supposed to know.
Okay, I got 2 people that's material fact, and over here we say, oh, this is what
They
I
drove over the same bridge you drove over, Steve.
But he
They drank.
He knew.
They knew
that I
too.
wasn't gonna
When
be able
they
to
drove
sleep
over that
because of the
bridge,
train coming.
What's the first thing you do when you drive
You
over
would
the
have bought
bridge?
it.
You looking to see if it's water or train tracks. I'm just saying.
And stuff.
So
Some people don't though.
They had
But
an
he
issue
got
about
that.
They driving. I don't know what they doing driving no car then, bro.
That would be a direct question.
Yeah,
Are
they asked you.
questions?
Yeah.
If they ask you a question,
Yeah.
is there a train that comes by here?
Wow.
They
I'm
didn't ask you that.
like,
I couldn't say, no, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I just see where I just passed
Well, I
out
did
from
this
my
too.
head.
But
Yeah.
however, the earnest money or whatever they put on it, if they do find out the railroad track, they could say that that would be a reason for them to do breach of contract.
I don't know.
oh,
No.
no.
They can see that train.
They-
They said
They came
drove
up the same bridge you did.
Yeah.
I ain't bad.
They would lose their earnest money.
So, wait, where I live, right, in my neighborhood, these people bought this house. Now, they have like a river run through their backyard. It just happened not to be raining the day they came through. They bought that house. But, time they bought the house, it's like the monsoon come through and they got this river running. And there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, did that agent know they had that monsoon? Yeah, because you knew them. They went by there more than once. I saw them over there, so yeah.
Now, if the house floods,
The house don't flood.
you'd have to
It
discuss.
runs.
The river run just got pretty.
The river, it runs around the back of their house and come across the street. It runs past them. Like if this the house, it runs from behind and come to the street. So it doesn't actually get in their house,
So
but
it-
their
it-
backyard is not functional. They can't use their backyard.
Wow.
It runs through there constantly.
So was the agent responsible to tell them?
Well,
Well,
they
the house
didn't know.
doesn't flood,
Okay.
Ooh.
so no.
So
All right, let's get back to math.
I'll be mad.
Yeah, we got, Y'all were so excited to get away from math for just 1 minute. I lost control. And our comparative market analysis, there are 3 parts to it. One is what has sold near there. The other one is what does it cost to build a new one like it. That's a principle of substitution. I can buy this house or I can build me another one over here. That weighs into the value of this house. And the third one that you don't have much on residential property, but on commercial, you look at the income approach, the capitalization. So there's 3 methods that you value property. Cost, comparative market analysis, the replacement cost, or the income approach. 3 ways. Now, when the appraiser goes out there and he's appraising a residential home, he doesn't have much use for the capitalization rate. He's going to put most of his weight on which one? Yeah, what is sold like this near here. That's probably 85% of his value, weighted average I call it, will go on what's sold around here. Then he'll say, okay, well, to build another one like this, he's got all these tables, and so we can build another one for about this, and he'll assign it a value. But probably won't give any value to the income approach. But they have to reconcile all that's called reconcile. We don't have to do it on our CMAs, but the appraisers do. And then there's one called a gross rent multiplier. This is one of their favorite test questions too. Alright, if the houses around here are all, say, worth $85,000, and they're renting for about $850 a month, that's a gross rent multiplier of 100. So if you've got a house that you're trying to come up with a value around here, what does it rent for? Or what does it sell for? And you can go backwards or forward and come up with a value based on rent. Gross rent multiplier. Usually 1 is what we're looking for in our property management business. If the house is a $100,000 house, we want to see rent of how much? $1,000. That's kind of the entry, the first little hurdle we want to jump over.
So you're using the value of the homes to determine your gross rent multiplier?
Yes.
Or your
Well,
rent
you can go
value?
either way. That's the thing about the gross rent multiplier. It's either multiplier or divider. If you know the rents, you can come up with the value of the house. If you know the value of the house, you know what the rent should be.
Gotcha.
We've got one little area, Crestline Gardens. We got about 6 houses in this little area. Every one of them rent for $1,000 a month. So what do you think those houses should be worth?
Minimum 100,000.
Minimum 100. Most of them are around 130, 140. So they're not getting 1-to-1. But if you know that number, you can back up with your math and get the value of the house. But gross rent multiplier, that's what that's called. Debits and credits. Debits are bad. Credits are good. That's all you need to know about debits and credits. Debits are bad. Credits are good. Now, on the closing statement, it could be a debit to both of them. It could be a debit to one, credit to the other. Let's just look at this first line. The purchase price of this house is going to be a credit to the seller, which means it's going to be a debit to the buyer. That's a debt to the buyer. But then we've got a loan. That's not going to show up on the seller's side at all. But it's going to be a credit for the buyer. They're going to have some earnest money. They put down a $1,000 deposit. Well, that's going to be a credit to them. They're going to have some closing costs, like an attorney fee. Well, an attorney fee is going to be a debt to both of them. They're going to split it, so here it's going to show up as a debit to the seller and a debit to the buyer. Got the loan cost. Seller's not gonna do that. That's all on the buyer, that loan cost. So the buyer's gonna have debits related to their loan cost. Now what we see common in contracts is the buyer will request that the seller pay $3,000, $5,000 toward the purchaser's closing cost. Okay, how's that gonna show up here?
Credit to the buyer.
Credit to the buyer and
Debit to the
debit
seller.
to the seller.
It's a balance sheet.
It's a balance.
It's like regular account.
This is just regular accounting, it's a balance sheet. Y'all don't have to learn how to do closing statements, but you need to know debits and credits. Debits and credits. Debits are bad, credits are good. That's pretty much what you need to know. And who's responsible? As a rule, the person that benefits pays.
Okay.
This is actually a closing statement where they summarize, there's 2 pages to it. You've got the second page, you have all the seller side and buyer side, debits and credits, and it gets down to the bottom and there's a grand total. And then they transfer that to the front page, and then this particular sale, we've got $216,000 sale. The seller walked away with $44,000. So they had a lot of debits. Probably the biggest one was what? Probably a mortgage. That was the biggest one. They may have had some taxes unpaid, attorney fees. They may have paid part of the closing costs for the buyer. The buyer, on the other hand, what they have to come? They had to $202,000, but out of cash, $13,000 that they had to come up with cash. And the rest of it was financed or paid by the other party. It all settles out. But y'all don't have to learn these. I just wanted to see how it fits together. This one you do have to know about. This is called a net sheet. Every time you do an offer or get an offer, you've got to produce a net sheet. It's an estimated closing cost. And you'll see this one sets up kind of the same way. You've got seller cost, you got buyer cost. Some of these things are pretty much fixed. An appraisal is going to be about $400. An attorney, half over here, half over there. Your loan cost, pretty much all over there. Over here, you basically have the commission, and then you have a title cost. Title policies protect something that's happened in the past, like a defect in the title, a forgery, unclaimed, unpaid bills, things like that that happened in the past that'll show up and hurt your title now. The title company will come in and say, we'll take care of this for you. And they'll hire their lawyers or get out the checkbook, whatever they got to do. But that's going to usually be a pretty big expense on every sale. In fact, outside of the commission, that's usually your biggest expense, will be title cost. If it's a cash sale, the seller pays all the title cost. If it's a mortgage involved, then they split the cost. You have an owner's policy and a lender's policy, and that pretty much explains who's benefiting. But these you have to have. There are 5 things you need to have in the file. First one is the RECAD. We talked about that in agency. Next is either you're going to have a listing agreement or you're going to have a buyer's agency agreement. We also talked about that in agency. Then the contract, which we talked about in contracts. Then this is the next thing, the net sheet. Got to have that in the folder. And the one we just looked at, that closing statement, that's got to be in there. 5 pieces of paper you've got to have in every file. And you don't get your check until all 5 of those pieces of paper are in your broker's hand. And that's just not here, that's every broker. None of them, Because if you turn that file in and it's not complete and you got your check, he's never getting his paperwork. You'll be calling and calling and calling, and say, yeah, I'm gonna get that to you, I'm gonna get that to you. So expect to have it all until you come getting your check. Property taxes. Property taxes are confusing, to say the least. The property tax people can't tell you how they work. The property taxes, like right now, if you closed a deal right now, this is the 3rd week of February, where the taxes became due October 1st. So their taxes due from October 1st all the way through next October 1st. Well, you lived in it up to here. So you have to pay these taxes, whether you've already paid them or you haven't paid them. They're due. That's called prorating. It's going to be prorated as of the date of the sale. Then the buyer will pick them up from tomorrow and pay them for the rest of the year. It's going to be in with their payment. So they don't really realize they're paying taxes. They just got this, we're going to get next, Thursday, big finance. It's a pity the payment's so high. Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Taxes right there. So that's part of the payment. But they prorate as of date of closing. Got different kinds of property that are taxed at different rates. Got an easy way for you to remember the kinds of property classifications. These are called zoning districts. RCA, remember that radio company? They used to make radios, RCA. Well, just think of the RCA radio, maybe had a little dog or something there listening to it.
Yeah, a little phonograph.
Yeah, a little phonograph. RCA is zoning. That's our acronym for this. RCA is zoning. R is residential, C commercial, RCA is agricultural, I is industrial, and S is special purpose. And if you just think about it a minute, you figure out what all those are. Residential is where you live, commercial is this, agricultural is, crops growing, industrial, that's the factories, and then special purpose. What do you think those are? Churches, schools, all those kind of things. Those are usually tax exempt. But the others will have different rates. The residential, if you live in the house, you can homestead it. And you pay a lower tax rate. If you're renting it out, you pay double the taxes that a homeowner would pay on that property. And here's how property taxes work. You have, let's just say, you think the house is worth $100,000. The tax assessor uses a great big brush to paint everything. They look at the overall value of all the houses around here and come up with like the square footage value. And he hadn't been in your house. He doesn't know if you upgraded or anything. But all the houses around here are worth, let's just say $100 a foot, square foot. And your house has got 1,000 square feet in it. So he's going to value your house as not an appraised value, but it's called an assessed value. And he's going to paint it with that big brush and say, all of them around here are worth about this, so your house got 1,000 square feet, it's worth assessed value of $100,000. Now, the way they tax residential property is if you're living in it, they tax you at 10% of that value. So you get a 90% deduction right off. So you're taxed at $10,000 of assessed value. And then they'll apply the millage rate. Ontario, you want to tell us about millage rates, or you just want to let that nightmare die?
I wish it disappeared, but it's not going to.
Millage rates is how different cities assess property. Let's just say you live in the county, you don't have fire protection, the local police, you don't have libraries, you don't have all these services. But if you live in the middle of, say, Mountain Brook or Vestavia, you got all those services and the highest level that they can put on you. So your tax rates are going to be higher. Mountain Brook's millage rate may be 10, which means for every $1,000 of assessed value, they're going to tax you $100. Ouch. Where out in the county, maybe a tax rate of 2. I don't know if in this one I've got a chart on the different cities, but you can just figure a house downtown Birmingham, about $100,000 house, the property taxes on it are about $1,000 a year. Just keep that straight in your mind. Now that's an owner-occupant. Now if you're renting that house out, they double it.
2,000.
Yeah, they tax you instead of on the $10,000 assessed value, they tax you at 20%. So at 20,000, so it's multiplied times 2, everything.
They would assume that you're renting it if you don't homestead it.
Right, you have to homestead it every year. You have to send that little card in saying, I'm homesteaded and I live here. And then there's a bonus when you get old and you make under, I'm not sure what it's something like $20,000. If you make under $20,000 and over 65, you don't have any property taxes at all.
You have to homestead every year?
Every year. They'll send you a little card in, I think it's about April or so, and you say, yes, I live here. And if you don't send that back, yes, I live here, then next year your taxes will go up to that 20% level. So don't just get that little postcard and say, that's something else from the government.
That would be good to do a mailing out like the month before to your people and be like, hey, are you going to homestead your house this year or do you want to sell it, the month before?
Good idea. Marketing. She's already thinking about marketing. How am I going to get houses? Good going. Next one is capital gains. If you make a profit, because everybody's watching HGTV right now, and they've got a hammer, and they think, I can do this.
Yeah.
All I got to do is find me a $10,000 house, and I can buy it, and I can put $2,000 in it and sell it for $100. Well, you can't do that.
Sure.
I'm shocked. But let's just say you did. You bought it for 10. You put $2,000 in it. Now let's just say it cost you $3,000 to buy it, all the cost of closing costs and all, and that much to sell it again. So you've got a total of $15,000 in this project now. That's your cost basis. And you hold it for less than 1 year and sell it for how much? $130. So you made $115,000 on this. I want to partner up with you. You know how to find them. And on real estate, you make your money when you buy it. You collect when you sell it. But this particular deal, we're going to make $115,000 on it, but we only held it for 6 months. That loads, that $115,000 profit will load on top of your regular income. So your ordinary income. You made $100,000 this year doing whatever it is you do. Now you're paying taxes on $215,000. Or you can hold it for a little bit. You hold this property for 12 months. 1 year, and I think it's 1 year and a day you actually have to hold it. Then that $115,000 profit that you made on this is taxed at the capital gains rate, which is 15%. That's what it is this year. It's been that for 10 years probably that I know of. It could change at any time, but right now it's 15%. So which one's better? Hold it for 6 months or hold it for a year and a day?
Year and a day.
Hold it for a year and a day and your profit, because I don't know what kind of, I don't make $215,000 a year, so I don't know what that rate is, but I'm guessing it's,
Of course, it depends on what your ordinary income was too.
Yeah.
Add 115.
yeah, it's gonna hurt you. What a lot of investors will do is they will buy it, fix it, and then hold it. They'll get somebody like a property management company to find them a tenant, put the tenant in there, and then about 6 months, or it gets close to that end of that year, they're gonna sell it to another investor who doesn't want to go through all the flipping process. They just want to buy cash flow. And we configured the cash flow based on monthly rent and what that investor wants to get as a return, and figure out the price for the house. Then you're only paying the capital gains tax.
I like the 1031 though, tax exchange, because you could do that in the 6 months and go find another property and buy it for $115,000. But you have, what, 60 days after you sell your property?
The 1031 tax rules are complex. You've got periods that you've got to identify, you've got to hold, you've got to turn it to a third party, somebody else has got to buy it. There's a lot going on there. What y'all need to know about 1031 is this is an exchange, tax deferred exchange that investors would use.
And we don't give advice.
No, we don't give advice. If
That's
somebody
what we
wants,
need to know. We
if
don't
somebody
give
wants to
advice.
talk about 1031s, we know how they work, but you want to say, you might want to talk to your CPA about that.
We also know that they need to flip it fast, and they're looking for something soon before they get taxed on that money. I
Yeah,
had some over $10 million for the 1031 exchange.
okay. This is just kind of what we just did, just up here on the screen. And there it is again down the bottom. Don't give tax or legal advice. Had it on this screen too. Don't. Interest. When you buy a house, you got to pay interest on that money. That's rent on the money that you pay, that you borrowed. You got to pay rent on it. Now, loans are by the month. The first of the month through the end of the month. So if you buy a house during the month, let's just say today's the 25th of February. This is the kind of day you want to close the loan. Because what you have to do is you have to pay rent on that money through the end of this month. Now, at closing. Well, February, we could actually push it out to the 28th of February. But the lawyers book up toward the end of the month pretty quick. So you could close one today and you'd have 25th, 6th, 7th, about 4 days of interest that you've got to pay at closing. And that sets your loan to the 1st of March. Now you won't have a payment in March. Your first payment will be due the 1st of April. That will include the rent on your money, interest, for March. You pay interest in arrears, except for that first month where you pay it 3 or 4 days. Sometimes, well, in fact, we had one this morning that wanted to close on the 1st of the month. I said, yeah, I'm not sure you want to do that, and here's why. Oh, can we close on the 28th? Yeah, that would work better, because lawyers don't book this far out. Usually, you know, they're booking, yeah, they're probably right now they're booking up the end of March, and it'll kind of come back this way. But you want to close your loans as close to the end of the month as you can. This will cover more on Thursday night. But this is about qualifying for a loan. You gotta make enough money to make the payment. They don't want you living on the edge. So they've got ratios. For conventional loans, the one that's 80%, you put down 20%, they'll loan you 80% of it. They want to know that you can pay that money. So what their ratio is you can have a payment up to 28% of your monthly income. So you make $1,000 a month, you can make a house payment of how much? $280. Not much of a house payment. But they also look at your total debt. And on conventional loans, you've got 28% housing cost, and then your total monthly debt is 36%. So that means you gotta have some cash to live on, because you gotta buy groceries and all these other things. But these long-term debts like a car note, student loans, any other kind of loans you've got out, plus your house payment can only total up to 36% of your monthly income. I don't know how anybody ever qualifies for a loan. I don't, I really don't. With those ratios, it look like you'd have enough money just stashed under the mattress, so just pay cash. I don't need a loan. That's on a conventional loan. Now remember we talked about a couple other kind of loans. An FHA loan and a VA loan. Their ratio is a little different. The FHA loan is like the conventional, but the VA loan, they'll allow you up to 41% total. They don't look at housing plus debt. It's just total outcome, money going out every month of 41%. They'll qualify you. So how much payment can you make if you make $4,000 a month to get a conventional loan? We could put this on our T formula and multiply it out. $1,120. You're making $4,000 a month, your house payment, and that includes principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Housing cost, they call it. $1,120. And our other ratio kicks in, that 36% one, so you've only got, what's that, looks like about $320 for a car payment. And I'm not sure what kind of car you'd be driving for a $320 car payment. But that's your total debt. Onward to loan. Points.
So you're saying that total debt includes your loan?
Yes.
Your house payment?
Yes.
So your house payment and everything else can only come to $1,400?
36% of your gross monthly income. 36%. That's what I'm saying. It's got to be hard to qualify for a loan.
Yeah, that's not right.
Well, I had a loan or mortgage guy call me. I was driving home Friday afternoon. This guy called me. Oh, I want to tell you about a new program we've got. It's an FHA loan qualifying at $570. I'm thinking, isn't the rate $620? And this is what got us in this trouble before. We started loaning money to people with 570 credit scores, no money down.
560.
Well, maybe he may have said 5.6. I was laughing so hard, I thought, oh, we're headed back to where good old days. We can sell anybody anything.
How about the no donkey,
Yeah, no docs.
Yeah.
We call them liar loans.
Yeah, when are they coming back?
Probably soon, the way he was talking. Loan,
That's kind of neat.
right now, interest rates are going up. We just got a closing statement today. They paid 5.375 was the interest rate they paid. 5.375. That's a lot.
Yeah. What's the credit score?
I didn't see, all I got was a closing statement, but I saw that and I thought, Yeah,
Look at that.
yeah, there's a relationship.
That's probably the
between
guy
credit
with the
score
500 square.
Could have been, could have been.
At least you can get a loan though.
Well, this is how you can get that loan, it's through points.
$500 where is going?
If you- If you've got weaker credit, the mortgage company wants a little buffer in there. They want a little extra profit because you're a higher risk. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna charge you points. That means you gotta pay interest up front. The guy that did this 3.75, his rate may have actually been 5. That was his published rate. It was 5%. We're going to give you a loan at 5%, but you've got to pay points. For every point that you pay in a loan, that's 1% of it. So,
How much was that?
well, we'll look at it after a while, but it's a risk and reward for the mortgage company. They want to get an extra percent. So every point that you pay in upfront loan cost increases their yield by 1/8%. So if you pay 2 points, that's 1/4% that it bumped their yield up. Now there's a company here in Birmingham called NACA. It's I can't remember what's National something. It's a kind of a quasi-government deal, and they will let you buy the interest rate down to 0.
How do you spell NACA?
NACA. I don't know if it's .org or .com, but it's a pretty good loan program. But they will allow you to buy your rate down to 0.
But during the course of your loan though, right?
For the whole life of the loan. But you got to say, how much interest is that I'm having to pay up front? 1% of the loan for every 1/8 of a point. So that's 8 points you would have to pay to bring it down 1. This guy at 5, that's 40 points, roughly. 40% of the loan, pay it up front, and you don't have any interest. Life of the loan.
Yeah, but how much
That
money?
does not make any sense.
That's great.
You mean you're paying points to buy your interest rate?
Buy it down, yeah. Builders do this. Builders will buy your interest rate down the first year. They'll pay a couple of 3 or 4 points toward your loan cost, to the mortgage company, and buy that rate down. All right, if you buy your rate down, that allows you to buy more house because you're qualifying for a higher loan amount. See that? Builders do that a lot. You can also use these points to pay your loan closing cost. Typical loan's going to have about 4% closing cost. Alright, so what can you do to cover that? Well, you can pay some points, and it'll go to cover your, we've got an example here in a minute. It'll bring your costs down. It's actually what you're doing is you're financing it in with a loan because you're not paying them that up front. You're just adding it on top of the loan. You don't have the money.
Oh, yeah, I'm about to say, that's...
So they'll say, okay, I know you don't have any money, so we'll just take what you owe us for the closing cost and put it on top of the loan.
Oh, that works. That's not...
Well, that's it. See, a lot of people say, that works for me.
Yeah, that works.
Can I move in the end of the month? I got a slide here in a minute that shows that. This talks about the 1/8 of a point. This is how it works. You're paying more points to bring it up 3/8%. You're paying 3 points. Here it is. This is the one I was looking for. It's like buying a car. What are you more concerned with? The price of the car or the price of the payment?
The price of the payment.
House is the same way. Can I get in this house now? Alright? We need to add our points to it to cover our closing cost. We need 4 points. That's going to add 0.5% to our loan cost. The loan, let's see, what we were at, 5%. That's what the current rates are. And so the lender will pay 4 points of that for you. Out of the goodness of their heart, they'll pay those 4 points for you, and they'll add 0.5%. So your loan will now, for the 30 years, will be at 5.5% instead of 5, but you didn't have to come out of pocket. The difference here is on that 5% loan, $536 a month, or $567 a month.
$31 ain't that? For 4.
I want the house. Give me the house. I don't have the money. Let me move in. I'll pay an extra $31 a
Yeah,
month.
but that's just for the loan though, you still gotta
But look
pay.
at your long-term cost for your
There we
$4,000
go. $11,000
for your 4.
is what that 4 cost you.
Yeah, but if you ain't got 4,000, you just ain't
There
got
we go.
4,000.
If you don't have the
Pay all
4,000.
the baby.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I worry about that 31. I worry about
I
that
ain't worried
later.
about it if my loan pay me $567.
I'm only gonna stay here. How long do people normally stay in a house?
10 years.
5, 10 at the most. And they moving on. Well, that's why. I don't care. I'm not gonna be here that long.
In case they make.
I'd rather keep that $4,000 in my pocket. FHA loans, they're risky because you don't have much skin in the game. You only got to put down 3.5%, and you can get the seller to put that down for you. Add it into the price of the house. Do it all the time. All right, well, if you don't have any skin in the game, what's the chance of you walking away? Higher. And they have learned this through experience. So what they do is they say, okay, if you want an FHA loan, you're going to have to give us some money up front.
20% down.
No, they're 3.5% down for an FHA loan. Very little down. But what they're going to do, they're going to loan these. Typically, people don't have the down payment, and the credit is a little lower. A conventional loan is 620 minimum. FHA loan, the guy just called me and said, we'll do it at 570. Okay, let's see what's coming here. What you're going to do is you're going to have to pay them up front. And I think right now the upfront fee on an FHA loan is about 1.25% that you got to pay up front to get the loan.
So you gotta give them money?
No, they're good to you. You can put that on top of the loan.
Oh, so you decided.
Just add that on top of the loan. They're in the finance business.
Okay.
The more they can loan you, the happier they are.
So they decided to your balance.
They're going to add that 1.5 to the top of your loan. Then they're also going to add 0.5% to whatever the going rate is. So if the going rate's 4%, your loan's going to be at 4.5%. That's the mortgage insurance premium. And it's there until the loan gets down to 80% of its original value. And then you can request that they take that off.
So you have to have it until then,
Yes,
but you can ask them to take it off.
at that point you can. And I think there's a rule that once it drops to like 79%, they're required
To
to take it off.
off. Because
But
it
at
used to be a
80
scam and they made everybody
Yes.
do it.
Yeah. Well, it's risky. So they're saying, give me some more money all the way around. Okay, well, guys, these are your different types of loan programs. You got the conventional loan, that's 80%. There's no upfront mortgage fees. There's no monthly premium. You get the best rate probably, because if you got 20% to put down, you've got money. You can make payments. Your credit's probably good. You're trustworthy.
And I take a little bit off you.
And you'll get the best deal there. But if you don't, the next best thing you can do is get that 80% conventional loan and then get a second mortgage for part of it. So you're not going to be paying all the upfront and the monthly mortgage premium extra money here on that 80%. And then this 20% over here, you may go to the seller and say, hey, I really want to do this deal, but I don't have the $15,000 I need to put down to get this loan. Can I get you to loan me that 15,000?
Sure,
He'll do it.
I let it do.
Think he's gonna hold a 30-year note though?
Nope.
Probably not. Probably gonna be something like 7, 10 at the most. But now you've got that little note and you don't have any mortgage insurance premiums on anything. You're getting the best rate and he's got skin in the game too. He's gonna tell you the things that you need to fix now. He wouldn't tell you before. You probably need to get this fixed before it blows the roof of the house off. The next best one is the FHA, and we just talked about all the fees involved with that. The next one is 100% loan. That's for veterans, and the veterans have to have certain time active. Even the National Guard now. Yeah, some of the National Guard even qualify for VA loans now. Also, there is a funding fee with a VA loan. Upfront money, I think it's about 2.5%. It varies through time, but you got to pay that up front. If you are disabled, you don't have to pay that. So it's just a 100% loan. Now you can also get a rural loan. They want people to move out of the cities into the rural areas. Don't know why, but they want them to. So places outside, right now, Calera was, I don't know if it still is, but it was. Just not long ago. We were selling a bunch of houses, that little community right south of the airport. Can't remember the name of it now, but I was out there one day taking a lockbox off a house. Airplane came in right over. He was so low I could jump up and hit his wheel. Now, am I required to tell the people moving in the house? That may be a material fact. An airplane could hit your house.
Wow.
But you can get a 100% loan in those areas. Also, there is bond money that
When you go to jail,
that kind of bond. Jail bond. Different programs that they're trying to get people in houses.
In rural markets?
Yes, that'll be in rural markets too.
There's no down payment on that, is it?
It's kind of a forgiveness thing. If you stay there 5 years or something like that, then you don't have to pay it back. But if you just move in there and move out the next year, you got to pay them that money back. You didn't get one of those, did you?
No.
You think about moving?
Nah, you didn't get one, yeah.
Okay, like that. All right, there we are at the 7-Eleven store. Remember I talked about this in the very beginning. 43,560 square feet in an acre. Remember the 7-Eleven. And because you're sitting there at that test, you got so many numbers spinning around in your head, you can't remember that. Ontario will tell you she spent the first 30 minutes of her test is writing all these numbers
It
down.
felt like 30 minutes on.
So just use these memory techniques to help you remember that. Now, I visualize an acre based on a football field. I've been to a football game and I've seen a football field. In my mind, I know about how big those are. Somebody said, how big do you think this land over here is? I can say, well, I can put about 2 football fields on that. I'm going to say, looks like about 2 acres. Another way you can remember an acre, it is roughly 200 feet by 200 feet. I think up there it says 207.81 or something. I might have taken that off. Just roughly 200 feet by 200 feet. You don't want to get too exact. Another number you got to know, it's been a long time since 5th grade, is how many feet are in a mile? 5,280. Did you know that Oak Mountain is 5 miles down Highway 280? Oak Mountain is 5 miles down Highway 280. Can you remember how many feet are in a mile with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to be 20
I gotta have
miles
these
to
crutches. Now, the reason you're gonna have to know mile is a section. We're gonna get into property description in a couple of weeks, and a section is one of the ways that we measure and draw out
Is that a square mile?
survey property. Yes, 1 mile. A section is 1 mile by 1 mile. And one of the questions they like asking on the real estate test is, you want to put a fence around a section. And they're not going to say a section is 5,280 feet. They're just going to say around a section. So that's why you've got to plug that in there. Then they're going to say it's $1 a foot for the materials and $1.50 for the labor. All right, well, those are pretty softball questions if you can remember how many feet are in a mile and how big a section is. And y'all got that now. Just on this 1 minute we just had on that, y'all will always know that. Here we've got another piece of property. We did a measurement square footage originally, first part of this session. Here it is looking at it again. This is the same thing we went over at the first, just different numbers. So we're just going to jump on through this. This is what we're talking about. You know, you've got to know how many square feet are an acre. How much, like here it's $30,000 an acre. How much is the land worth? Well, in this case, Spot's house and the land, if you got a big piece of property, it's not like just your comparables where you're comparing all these just alike houses. This one's got 5 acres with it. The 5 acres has a separate value than just a regular building lot. So you may have to break these problems out into 2 pieces. How much is land? How much does it sell for? And then we've got the house itself that's 60 by 40. How many square feet is that? 2,400 square feet. All right, we know property around here. These houses they're nice. They're selling for, I think, $120 a foot. So we're going to add those 2 numbers together and come up with a value for this. We got the land at 150, and then the house at 288. So we add those together, and that value of that whole parcel is the 2 pieces. Okay, principal substitution, we got that. Conformity. Most of your communities, the houses are going to be kind of alike. They're going to look alike, same builder, same time, all that. That's principle of conformity. When you're flipping a house, you want to find the worst house in the best neighborhood. That's got your highest potential of profit right there. All right, now let's go back to our T formula. The house we just looked at, it sold for $438,000. That was our land and our structure. So that $438,000, where's that number going?
Base.
Base. And the other one, the commission check,
Top.
that's our results. So what was the commission rate on that house?
21,900.
No, the rate.
Oh, the rate.
The rate. So you divide.
We're gonna put 21,000 up here and the 438 down here. Divide, put this number in first, divide button, that number, and that'll give us this one. 5%. Alright, we're almost through. Property management. We're going to do a whole section on property management, but this is the part that deals with the money. The return on investment for property, that's what, most people that have rental property, that's what they're interested in. I'm doing this because I want to make money. you've always got a silent partner in your deals. If you're managing property, you're owning rental property, Timmy's with you. Timmy's your silent partner. He's just sitting over there, he's always got his hand out too. Timmy, it's got Tim here, but there's another M. Property taxes, that's the T. I is your insurance, M is your maintenance, and then you've got management. And you really need to figure Timmy in there, even if you're using a property manager or you're not. Because if you're not using a property manager, it means you're doing it yourself.
Yeah.
And there's a cost for your time. So Timmy is always with you. Return on investment. This is how we figure return on investment. We had one of those, we looked at it earlier, just like this. What's a 15% return on investment on $1 million investment? Where does $1 million go?
And the base?
Base. And the 15%, the rates, it never ever moves, it's always right there. So that's a straight across multiply. What's our return on that investment? $150,000, yeah. There it is. Net monthly rent, oh no, not net. It says monthly rent is 15. So I read something in there, and I wrote the question. I read something in
Monthly
it.
rent is $15.
15,000. So we've got to put the 15,000 where? On the top, and then what have we got to do to it?
Monthly.
Multiply it by
12.
12. So we'd have a pretty big number there. The investor wants a 12% ROI. That's going
Right.
right there. So we're going to take that big number, divide it by
Right.
0.12.
180,000 divided by.
0.12 or 1 point?
Yeah, 180,000 is our annual rent on this. It's probably an apartment. So an investor will pay. Yeah, it could be one of these houses in what's that, Greystone?
That's a good return.
Yeah, maybe 15. I don't have anything written for 15,000.
That's all.
That's a warehouse.
That's a good commission.
All right, so what we want to go here is that's the maximum an investor will pay.
Yeah.
The maximum. Now, what happens if? Well, here I moved it on down. Sometimes you have to figure out what the net is. And if you do, they'll say vacancies this, expenses are that. You just have to do a couple more steps. But here, this apartment has a $780 annual rent and 12% rate of return. That's the maximum they would pay is $6.5 million for that. Now, it's been on the market for 2 years. Nobody's bought it. And along comes somebody and says, I'll give you $5 million for it. And the owner says, maybe that's what it's worth. And he sells it for $5 million. What happened to this number? Went up.
Right now.
Went down. You have to change the base to 5.
Change the numbers.
You're right.
It went up.
Went up. His capitalization went up because his price went down. His rent stayed the same.
Yeah.
This went down, that went up. Oh, he likes that one so much better. Now, you were the agent on this deal. And the agent, you told him that if you sold it, remember we talked about negotiating our commissions, this is a commercial deal, and you told him I want 10% because it's going to take me 2 years to sell it. And he says, okay, but you know, I got other people that'll do it for less. And you said, well, if I do it both sides, I'll do it for 8. So, what'd you make on it?
You did both sides at 8?
$400,000. Oh, what a nice payday. I could take one of those every 2 years. Be just as happy.
Every 2 years.
Yeah, every 2 years.
Not
Had
every
this
6
for
months,
2
but every 2
years.
years.
They got some $4 million houses out there now.
Alright, I have one more I want y'all to see. Yeah, here it is, this one right here. And then we're through. You want to earn $50,000 a year selling real estate. How many houses do you have to sell? You can figure this out using our T formula.
$50,000 a year.
You want to earn $50,000.
The result.
There we go, that's results, 50,000 up there. Average sale price is 150, where's that going?
In the base.
That's gonna go base, and then we gotta do something to that 150,
3%.
times 3%, and then you gotta do something else with it, times the broker. So we're gonna put all three of those things there. Sometimes you get softballs, but sometimes you've got to do something to get to that number.
Right.
So there, each sale, $150,000 sale at 3%, and you're paying your broker 20%, you're gonna make $3,600. That's about average. On a sale here, about $3,600 is what you're gonna get. So if you wanna make $50,000 a year, divide this by this, and we get 13.8 sales. Alright, do we understand how commissions work? Can we calculate commissions? Can we determine value of real property? We know the difference in debits and credits. One is good, one is bad. We know how to calculate proration. We know how to do points. Understand how loan values are determined. We can measure stuff. We can measure property. Measure stuff here. We can measure property.
5 miles down to 87.
Yeah, we've got 2 new things. There's some numbers you need to write on the back of your handle with those Sharpie pens.
Yeah.
43,560 is one of them.
All right.
5,280 is the other one. And the last one is 640. We'll deal with that one in description. That's how many, yeah, that's in the section. So you write that on your hand and you leave it on there for a day or two, and every time you see it, you'll see it and it'll burn it into your head.
Oh, okay, so don't do it.
No, don't take it to the
I was like, you were saying. No!
Wipe it off while you're out there.
For a few days.
Yeah, one of those black lights.
Neon sign.
And then when you're at the test center and you can't remember it, you can look at your hand and it's still burned into your head.
Yeah. Good idea.
Alright folks, that's it for tonight. Appreciate y'all being here. Thursday night, we're going to do finance.
Okay.
We're going to dig deeper into that. Not a whole lot of math on that night, because y'all just heads just going to explode if we do any more math.
Good night.
Good night. I should have said, do we have any questions before we leave?
So we'll be reviewing the questions up here.
Yeah, you got that test.
And if you can divide.
What happened?
Well, the first question on there is about what are your questions? The net owner of $900,000 after paying a 6% commission on list price. How would you set that problem up? Where would you put the $900,000? At the top. Right there. That's his net. You're gonna pay 6% commission. How you gonna deal with that? Right over here, it's 6%. What else you got to do with that 6% though?
It's the net.
So you subtract it from 100. And now,
94.
and now,
Oh, you push it up.
instead of making me go back in all my math stuff and correct my equations.
When did I drop that bag at?
Right at my feet.
Alright,
You want to be bending down?
Right. Good job.
you feeling better about this yet?
The math,
Yeah, all of it.
you know, feeling fine with, what we've covered so far. I was doing contracts, in the contracts on the terminology, and working on those words. Because I think that's what a big problem in life.
Oh, yes, vocabulary.
I think it's more so I understood the questions, and when I got down to two, it was just the word. Okay, which one? And I throw off with just one minute thing. So I've been staying up like 11 or 12 o'clock going, okay, I'll finish with this section and get up the next day and say, okay, this is what I'm working on. I have to separate it every day because if not, I'm gonna cover it. So that's what I've been doing.
Have you did flashcards?
That's what I'm doing.
I
put them on.
Pass rail.
I put them on index cards because the ones that like Steve had that were already pre-printed, the definition wasn't sticking too well.
Yeah, I have mine on the index. There's a little
Yeah,
white thing.
put them on index cards.
It's the best way because
So I just really feel like it's